Sorry, one second. Next. Okay. So what I wanted to look at today was it's a narrative which I wanted to contrast with what we've spoken about before, and that is the very sad death of Aaron. And if we look carefully in the psukim, it's not there's not much in it in so much way. Just the Torah describes how Moshe Rabbeinu takes Elazar and Aaron, and they go up to the mountain, and when they're there, Moshe Rabbeinu takes off Elazar's coat. Takes off Aaron's all the begadim, and he gives them over to Elazar, and then they come down. And it's when they come down that the Torah presents us with something that's a little bit different from what there normally is. And that is that when he comes down, it says, Vayir'u kol ha'am ki gava Aaron, and the whole nation saw that Aaron had ki gava. Now, gava is a language that the way they translate it is quite strange. Like had been gathered up unto his people. Ki gava. It's like he'd passed away. The nation recognized and they saw that he had passed away. And when they see this, then they start to cry, and they cry and they cry and they cry, and we understand that all of a sudden now the nation is bereft of this great leader that they had, of the person that we didn't understand why they cry. But the Torah says, "Vayivku et Aaron 30 yom kol Beit Yisrael," that the entire nation of Israel cry for 30 days. Kol Beit Yisrael. And we know the reasoning that we find that they cry is because, as Rashi tells us, the Midrash explains that Lefisha Aaron Rodef Shalom Amatil Ava Ben Baalei Meriva Ben Ish Ishto, because Aaron had a specific way of doing things, and that he was Rodef Shalom, which we learned from the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot. Matil Ava, and he was able to bring love and warmth between people who argued. He was an unbelievable. He had this incredible capacity to negotiate spaces together so that people would be able to find common ground. Both in general arguments and specifically ben ish leishto. Now it's interesting that in our nusach, when we say the Birkas HaTorah, the brachas that we say, part of those brachas we say that part of the mitzvah that we have is Havat Shalom ben Adam lechavero. By Chabad, they also have Ubein Ish leishto, which is based on this Rashi, which is really based on the Avos de Rabbi Nassim. The interesting part is that it says Vayir'u kol ha'eda ki gava Aaron. It says that the whole nation saw that Aaron had breathed his last breath, that he passed away. And the question is, what does that really mean? Moshe Rabbeinu comes down with Elazar. Surely, when they see Moshe Rabbeinu and Elazar, they don't see Aaron, they must understand that Aaron is no longer with them. He's no longer going to be around. But Rashi tells us, Keshera'u Moshe v'Aaron yordim v'Aaron lo yarad. When they saw Moshe coming down and Aaron didn't come down, Amru heichanu Aaron. They said, where's Aaron? So Amalahem Meis. So Moshe Rabbeinu said, he's passed away. Amru, they said, if you remember, there's this part of the parsha is this terrible magefa, this terrible plague that comes, and Aaron HaKohen takes the ketores and he runs through the crowd, and he's able to stay the Malach HaMaves. He's able to hold off the Malach HaMaves just by simply using the ketoret. So the people say, if Aaron, this man, is able to stop the Malach HaMaves, to stop the Magefa, then surely, how can you say that the Malach HaMaves actually has strength over him? He's able to stop everybody else dying. Surely he can stop himself. So what are they actually asking? It's a crazy question. Moshe and Elazar come down the mountain. Aaron doesn't come down the mountain. They ask Moshe, where is he? He says he's dead. And they don't believe him. How can they not believe him? This is Moshe Rabbeinu. It's not you and I. That's Moshe Rabbeinu. And therefore, as a result of this, miyad bikash Moshe rachamim. Once again, Moshe has to turn from the complaints, from the space of negativity of the people. He has to turn and he has to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu for rachamim, for mercy. And what is V'harehu malachei hasharet lehem mutal b'mitah. And the malachim come and they bring down this, picture, hologram, all the things that we got today. We can kind of understand this. They bring down and they show an image of Aaron lying dead on the mitah, on his final resting bed. Ra'u, excuse me. Ra'u ve'eminu. They saw it and then they believed. And it's so difficult to understand it. But what's most difficult to understand in this whole story is that they see it, they don't believe it. We can say perhaps that the reason why they don't believe it is they think that Aaron HaKohen is so powerful, and when they know that it brings so much, and it's not so much that they can't believe it, but they actually don't want to believe it. When somebody who has so much impact on everybody passes away, so we don't want to believe that they've passed away. And perhaps that's what they need to do. And they actually needed to see a picture in front of them, right? So that we have to be careful not to go after our hearts, after this emotional space in which they were so worried that Aaron had left them, that they didn't believe it unless they actually saw it with their own very eyes. So we can understand that. And we understand, in a way, we can understand, therefore, that Moshe Rabbeinu has to daven. But why does he have to ask for rachamim? Why does he have to ask for mercy? What is he concerned about? So it seems to be he's just concerned that the people will mob him. And the Netziv says, why didn't Moshe Rabbeinu tell the people that he was going, that they were all going up there in order for it was time for Aaron to go on. And so therefore comes along the Netziv, and the Netziv says that Lo hodia Moshe beferish ki Aaron meis. Initially, he didn't want to say that Aaron had died. Why? Because this is a very important concept in halakha. Because the Gemara tells in Ksuvas, the asur mishum motzi diba. Motzi diba means that we should not say things. Motzi diba huksil. It's a pasuk in Mishnah that a person who says diba, bad, negative things, is a ksil, is a fool. We don't say things that we don't need, that if people are able to infer it from our actions or from things that we're doing, we should not actually have to say these things. What he wanted to do was he wanted them to take it from themselves, that they understood if Elazar is not there, and Elazar is in Aaron's clothes and Aaron is not there, then surely it must be that the mantle has been passed to Elazar because Aaron has passed away. And so therefore, what he was concerned about is that the people now, they didn't get it. And so he davens for rachamim. The rachamim is not only for him, it would seem, says the Netziv, but perhaps the rachamim is that because of their inability to see and to infer, Hashem is asking for the rachamim, and so therefore it might not be that actually the malachim come down. The Midrash is always is quite flowery, but it might not be that the malachim come down with the mitzvah of Aaron, but rather what HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts into the minds of the people is the ability to see and understand that in actual fact he has passed away. But what really strikes me about this pasuk, and we spoke about it before, as I said, is that Vayivku et Aaron 30 yom kol Beit Yisrael. Everybody died. Everybody cried for 30 days. And if you remember right at the beginning, Miriam dies, and we do not hear one word of anybody crying at all. In fact, they complained that they didn't have water. The Netziv says that why is it that they all cried? Said Mishum Hachi ayu kol anashim v'anashim yodim umakirim tuvo. Everybody knew, because he was so busy making sure that everybody would be b'shalom. He was making sure relationships were strong, making sure he could build relationships, recreating new foundations for relationships. So everybody knew the power of Aaron. Masha'en kain Moshe Rabbeinu Shirayu Mekirin Ki Im Gedolei Yisrael. But unlike that, unlike he specifically focused on Moshe Rabbeinu, nobody really understood how powerful Moshe Rabbeinu was and the care, the love, and the warmth that he held for all of the Jewish people. And so too, I would like to extend that to say it applies the same with Miriam. We only find one instance where Miriam really engages with all the people. And that is at the crossing of the sea, where Vatikach Miriam, she takes the tambourines and the mecholot, and they are dancing together, and she reflects that which Moshe was. But actually, that narrative is showing us that she reflects what Moshe is. She reflects the greatness and the grandeur of the prophet of Moshe Rabbeinu. She too is a great person. Because of her, we have the water. But perhaps the people never understood that. Why is that? Because as great as she wasn't involved in the nitty-gritty lives of the people as Aaron was. And what is so important, I think, in this pasuk, and this demands an enormous amount of extension, is that there are two types of leaders that the Torah presents us. Just in the death of Aaron, we can see it so clearly, but it's all over the Torah if we look at it carefully. There are two types. There are the leaders that lead through the ability to take people into a new space, into an understanding, in coming from that space, not of one-on-one direct relationships, but on a much broader level. And then there are leaders that lead one-on-one. And the reality is that we need both of them, because both of them teach us different ways. But at the end of the day, it's the one that is the Aaron HaKohen, the one-on-one relationship that is so powerful that when he sees somebody who is in pain, he goes out and tries to help them. And I suppose that is one of the great lessons that we can learn from our Aaron, is to be a Oyev Shalom, Rodev Shalom, to find that space in relationships, to always be a Rodev Shalom, to always find Shalom. We can, if we want to be like Bnei Israel, we can try and find machlekes. We can try and find a difficulty in situations, and we cannot believe because we don't like what we're saying. But we have to learn from Moshe Rabbeinu is teaching us not to be motzi diba, but be careful of the words that we say. That Aaron is much bigger than that. Aaron goes out, not only teaches us not what not to say, he teaches us how to engage one-on-one in a very profound and excellent way. It's not always easy, that. But that is the power of Aaron, and that's why the whole nation cried for 30 days afterwards. Have a beautiful day. Please God, we should always be able to laugh together, and we no need to cry through simchas only and not any tragedies, God forbid. God bless everybody. Have a beautiful day.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Lovely.
Thanks.